gorgeous, and you really
Sorry.
you really should see it. Hi, Joy. Look at your pretty hair. Oh, it's great. You really should see it before it melts because it's melting for sure. It's gorgeous. It was gorgeous. My grandson loved the trip because he got to do everything he wanted to do, like, play in the casino and have a beer on Nana. That was great. So it was fun. It was really fun. And I'm in Boise, Idaho now, on my way to Salt Lake City. Yeah. Yeah. So, the journey continues for sure. Ups and downs. But let me hear about you. How was last week? How did it all go? Good? Yeah.
Doing great. We did great. We missed you, but we
Hi, Maria. Hi. Hi. But I'm assuming you took charge. That sounds like it might be a good thing for sure. What did you guys discuss? Just brief, we got more today.
we did because we had a lot of homework, Pat. You had loaded us with lots of good stuff. So we had left off about the columns of, kind of, I was in that place of sort of compare, like, I don't want to repeat my parents' mistakes or past. And so we had that activity of writing out like what you dislike or really hated about your childhood and then filling in the gaps. So we had a conversation about that and it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it did. Yeah. Anybody getting ahas from that? Breakthroughs from that?
I had one more from what Amy said, of course, because every time she speaks, it's like my brain wakes up, activates. I don't know if it's her voice or just her brilliance or what, but it always impacts me. She said, "Are you working from your heart or your head?" And we were talking about that, to learn to work from, from your heart instead of just, like your head of.
Right.
And I think part of that for me resonated because one of the things that was difficult for me in my childhood was my mom's a high D and a thinker. And I'm 1,000% feeler. And so it would be like these bombs, like boom. It's just like, from the head instead of from the heart. So that's kind of why it connected to me.
Wow. And Chris, everybody who knows you knows how much heart you have and how you put it out there very willingly, non-defensively, sharing with people, being interested in people. And so if you grow up in a family that is resistant to that on some level because, they're not that, then you have to, it's hard to be you, there's this element of, I need to change. Did you feel that? Yeah.
Yeah, I did to a certain degree. But it's interesting now with the conversations, especially in the last few weeks that I've had with my mom, like just the only reason we tried for a third kid was because we wanted a girl, like when your brother came out number 2 and it was boy, she said my words were, "Oh crap." But just the fact that I think those experiences, like you say, because I've always been that way. And I was even as a child, super, heart driven. You don't, I don't know if it's that you forget, but you don't even realize that part is there, so yeah, it was tough at times, but I think in some ways it also created a resilience in me.
Good. And how are you doing with the grieving and your mom and the whole? That's a process, but
yeah, it is a process. It's a process that just when you think, okay, it's like, okay, maybe not. But doing well. And actually it's been extremely, my mom and I have had some amazing, healthy, healing conversations
fabulous
through the process. So that's been really, really good. So
you bet. for both of you. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So good. And it takes usually something big to crack open that. If that's not a normal process that you and your mom go through, it takes something big to open that door.
Yeah.
But once the door is open, hallelujah, you know. Yeah, good for you.
Question, once that door is open, does it usually stay open or will it close again and then you need to have something big happen for it to open again?
That's a great question. I'm not sure, Joy. It depends on the person. But if you're liking that openness, you know, you're liking the door open, you've had that great conversation. On your side, stick your foot in the door so that if it closes, you at least got your foot in there. So I'm just being metaphoric. So you can open it again. Don't let it close completely.
Well, you don't see the name Bethany very often. My youngest daughter's name is Bethany. So yeah, welcome, Bethany. I haven't had a chance to meet you yet.
Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Yeah. Bethany is joining our group and a friend of Naomi. Bethany, do you want to take a second and just tell everybody about yourself a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I am Beth Drew from, I live in Nashville, Indiana, which is better known as Brown County, Indiana. It's a little tourist town. People converge on us in October and they buy the wares. Beautiful countryside in Indiana. It's very hilly, which is unusual for Indiana. I am married, been married for going on 27 years. I have 3 children that are now grown. They are 24, 22, and 20, and they all live on the East Coast. 2 are in Boston, and the other is in Brooklyn, New York. And I am a sales director, been a sales director I'm a senior sales director, and Naomi is my offspring.
Nice.
I know. It's my
You
claim
got a
to
great
fame.
offspring. Good for you. Yeah.
Yes. And she did it all herself. I'm not kidding. She was one of those people that came in and just flew.
We know. Yeah, we get her. Yeah, we get her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And so, Beth, if the best that can happen happens from you being in this group, what do you want to get for yourself?
Unstuck.
Okay.
Unstuck.
You're going to tell us what that means for you, right?
Okay. Yeah. I have been a sales director that has done what I would deem unjudgingly good work, but I've never been a top sales director. I've never had a unit club, never had a Cadillac. I have offspring sales directors, obviously. One stayed, others didn't. And I'm ready to launch. And my ultimate goal is to be a national. And has been since the day I signed my agreement. Saw Linda Tupin and said, yeah, I want that.
I love Linda Tupin. She's one of my best buddies in Mary Kay's. So, okay. So here's the deal, Beth. I want you get a little homework. Okay. Everybody can do this. I want you to write a paragraph to yourself. Dear self, I'm stuck because. Okay. I'm stuck because. And there might be levels of that. There might be, I'm stuck because I've been sick. I'm stuck because whatever. So, but try to peel some of the layers and then bring that back in for homework next time. Okay.
Absolutely.
And, Maria can tell you I love assigning homework.
I hear. This is what I gathered. I'm good with homework.
Well,
and you assigned me homework on our call. You said stop self-sabotage, which I'm 3/4 of the way through. So
well, that's just for me to sell books, but no, I'm teasing.
Well, and you have too, because I've recommended it to 3 people. I was like, man, you need this.
Thank you. The thing about that book is it's really meant in a lot of ways. Can you guys see me? I know I'm being blinded by this side. Anyway, it's really written as a process-oriented experience, because you read about what self-sabotage is, you do a little writing about it in the there's homework in that sense, and so that will lead you to some of the answers now, or excuse me, deeper questions maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
So, okay, welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you. Thanks for
Thank you so
coming.
much, guys, for letting me come in.
Yeah, yeah, this is a great group. You got the best one for sure.
Yay.
Let's hear from people. How are you? What's the questions you have in your heart? Maria, let's start with you. Got anything you want to talk about?
Well, I do have just like a sidebar question. Pat, if we want to refer the book for people to purchase your book, is there a best, can they do it directly through you versus like a third party, or what's the best?
Amazon.
Amazon really
Amazon.
is. Okay. And that still does benefit you. Yes.
Well, sort of. Yes, sometimes it does. Yes, it does. But I don't sell them directly. I used to haul them around to meetings and stuff, but no, Amazon doesn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere I'll get $1 or $2 somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, my thing the homework was great. I was kind of, I had that other big aha too. Dang, so many choices. Okay. Well, let's go. The first thing with the homework, I was kind of beating myself up a little bit, because I just sort of did the tip of the iceberg versus digging so deep. So I was kind of like, am I just not wanting to go there? Why is this so surface level? Is it just kind of questioning, why am I really like, should I be a hot mess? Like doing this column item, is it okay that I just sort of did surface level emotions? So I kind of, that was just kind of an interesting observation I had about myself, that I want growth and I want to be unstuck, like Bethany was saying. And then when you just said that, I am stuck because I wrote down this sentence, because I'm unwilling to dig deep and figure out my emotional block. But then I thought, that's not really true. That is a story I'm telling myself, because I have been addressing things, and I had a really intense conversation with my dad about some things I needed to address. So that was.
Well, by the way, congratulations. That is one of the hardest things for a child to do with a parent, to take it from that level of a parent being up here, a child being here, no matter what your age, you're still their child, and bringing it up to a level in which we are having an equal conversation in which both of us have feelings and both of us need to be heard. That alone is huge.
Yeah.
I
I
will
need
tell
to
you.
give myself credit, because I realized I needed to have a conversation with my dad a while ago, and it took me a long time to ask for it. But then it was a huge release. And too, I hadn't had emotion, and just go driving to my dad's house, I was bawling. Like, I was like, oh wow, like this is good. I'm like getting
Good.
this stuff I've been hoarding out. Yeah.
Fabulous.
You know,
Absolutely.
it was probably really good for your daddy too.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah,
but
I had
good.
to be sort of like, I can't sugarcoat this. I admire my father so much for so many things, but I had to really be like, I'm not coming here to, like, this is I had to take ownership of the conversation, which was really interesting. Meaning I knew I was going for me and not going to try to heal him. He has his own stuff. I had to say, I'm not going to go and try to sugarcoat this or whatever for the benefit of him. And I tried to lay it out in that way. So who knows, but it was good for me to realize, like, I took ownership, like this is for me and my release, and I want to have a breakthrough and move on, because I think generally I would tailor it to serve and benefit him and make sure he was okay with how I was presenting the information, blah, blah. So, yeah.
And Maria, did you get that? Did you get that breakthrough emotional release afterwards?
Yeah, and I really had a better understanding of his side of things and why he made the choices that he made. Yeah, definitely.
That's a huge leveler of every child's projection story about their parent. We all have a story, and we have a positive story, hopefully, or we have a negative story. But to prick that balloon in that way, to have that kind of breakthrough, is the courage that takes. I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, really, congratulations. Really. Yeah. Because what that does is it helps you move through those trigger points in you that are not you, they're him. Because there are times in all of our lives that we're going through life, whatever, something happens, and we become the parent that we didn't like. We hear ourselves say things because we're feeling things and being in a way that we have been, we have been exposed to that we don't like. That's not who we want to be. I mean, for me, what I do is I get snappy, and I become that parent, my father, who used to just kind of dismiss me, and I become dismissive, and I don't like it. And then when I'm in it, it's very hard for me to stop. But I know what it is. I know what that story is, and I know I can get through it and apologize and come back to who I am. So we all have it, but to tackle it with the person is extraordinary, because usually by the time we get around to dealing with it, our parents are deceased, and we can't have that conversation.
Right.
So Pat, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens to me. I become snippy. So
Yeah.
Is there a trigger in you that just, and then you just all of a sudden, because I realize I'm snappy and then I go, what is going on?
Right. Well, and it's only to people I love. I usually do it to restaurant, people with restaurants. It's usually when I'm in discomfort for some reason. I mean, we had a problem with the van, and we have no air conditioning, and we're driving around, and I am hot and hungry and hangry and all that kind of stuff. And so I start hearing myself say things to my sweet husband that I don't want to say. And I don't attack him, but I'm just, I'm just grumpy and snippy and then I have a protection, which is the level you hit, if I want to just run away. Now, I don't know what that means. I mean, I'm not going to go anywhere. I mean, in this case, it meant get a hotel room and get some air conditioning. But, and in other cases, it was my protection mechanism as a child. When I had an interaction that was negative with my father, I would go to my room. So I would kind of run away from the situation. And that's still in me, and it's still in all of us. Believe it. Everyone on this call has that negative side that we don't like. It's not there all the time, but when it comes up, there it is. So by naming it, by claiming it, you can start diminishing it. And if you don't diminish it, you can at least apologize and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I sounded like that. I love you, and it's not your fault. It's just the situation. By claiming it and naming it, you reduce its power. I mean, that's what you want. You want to be in charge. You don't want to knee-jerk into a negative place in you because you've been triggered by something.
Mm-hmm.
You with me, Chris? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Total.
Yeah.
Are you in my
So
brain?
is there,
Totally talking.
so is there maybe a way of rewiring your brain to say, when I'm feeling this way, when I'm like, I can reroute my brain to, instead of run, breathe. Instead of, I mean, sometimes it's okay to get out of the situation because you don't want to say anything that would be hurtful, right? But you know, maybe there's a way of rerouting our brain to say, think of happy things, you know, or something that we could,
Yes, yeah.
like my
yeah,
mother-in-law and father-in-law actually live in Boise now. Or it reminded me of that, but she, when someone was, huh?
I'm teasing. I said, do
When-
they have air conditioning? I'll go visit them.
They do. But so when my husband was hypoglycemic and he was younger, she would say, someone needs to brush their teeth. And that was just like a cue, like, go start over, go
Mhm.
be by yourself, go do something, go to the bathroom
Yeah,
now. And nobody fought her over it. It was like their little code since he was younger. So I always thought maybe there's something, because I can be a runner, you know, when things get tense, I'm like, I'm just gonna go get a massage. I'm just gonna run away, you know, and just pretend like nothing's happening right now. But sometimes I need to be a big girl and I need to stay put, and I need to handle the situation and not put it off, right? Or not run. And so it actually, yesterday I was at a stretching yoga class, and she was like, do you need to be somewhere else now in your mind? And I thought, that's something. Yeah. She was like, okay, go to where you want to be for the next hour. You do not have to be sit in your problems or your woes or your stress. You get to be mindless or somewhere else. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about that.
I love that. I love that. And yes, the answer is yes. What the hallmark of maturity is to be able to handle the pain and stay in a healthy position. Hashtag self-care. Okay. So during the pain of whatever stress happens to be at that moment, you know, finishing the month, you know, environment, an argument with your son, whatever the stress is, and you can hold that experience and at the same time choose to do something that gives you the support to handle it. And sometimes you don't do it well, you know, sometimes you're just human and you just get snippy. But other times you can say, and it all comes down to asking, which is a very difficult thing for women to do. Asking for space, asking for, I've got to, you know, I need a massage right now. I need time out. I can't handle this at this moment. But asking for what you need to take care of yourself in the moment so that you can come back and deal with it. Because we all run out of resources. We just flat run out. So we got to find a self-care, sustaining something to, you know, give us the energy to come back. Make sense, Joy?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't consider that a runaway. Running away is, I don't want to deal with it. And so I'm just going to run away and never deal with it. Rather than I'm going to take a break, resuscitate, and come back and deal with it. That's maturity. I mean, we all know that when we are at the bottom of our barrel of resources, to deal with somebody or something that is stressful, it's really not the time because it turns out badly, you know? So let's talk about self-care, you guys. What do you do to take care of yourself in situations like that? Do you have a strategy? Anybody? Have a place, have a thought, have a good massage person, have any, what do you have? You know, what do you do?
Just to clarify the question, self-care in situations or just self-care in general? Because what I have found is if I maintain self-care, then when I get to the situation, I'm a lot more equipped to handle it differently than just jumping, like flying off and being hot fused.
No question, no question, no question about that. And if you can manage consistent self-care without hitting the bottom of your tank, great. I don't know that anybody can do that, frankly. I think everybody at some time gets so stressed out that they don't have the gas in the tank.
Absolutely. But like, for example, for me, I have two things: exercise and massage. I didn't know I needed massage until my mentor in San Diego had told me, why don't you get massages? I was like, I don't know. I love them, but they're so expensive. And she said, well, it's less expensive than the time you waste being stressed out. So, so I've made that I've made that a regular thing. And I feel like for me, I know and so what she and I did is we actually pinpoint what time of the month I'm at my peak. So I have this week of that I panic. It's always the second week of the month where I hit this moment of, I'm like, things aren't going the way I planned them already. And I freak out. And she's like, it's only the 9th. Okay. And so I have since then always scheduled the second week. Well, not since then, but since I've moved here, have scheduled the second week of the month is my massage week. And if I feel like I'm on edge before then I call my masseuse and tell her, like, I'm going to need you sooner. And so it keeps me like, because during that time, everything's off. Like, that's my hardest thing. I don't think it's so much about the massage and I'm getting worked, and it's about relaxing. Is like, I cannot touch the phone and I cannot touch I can't do anything. I physically
Right. Right.
So that's my time out. Same thing with running. I'm a runner.
Wow.
And I literally lost my stuff last night. I told my husband, I was like, I think I'm gonna have a panic attack because I have not been running. I've been trying to take care of just making sure that I was healthy enough to run. And the doctor was like, if you ran before, you're fine. With my first pregnancy, the way my daughter was sitting, I couldn't run. And I was running like 6 miles at a time. And so in my brain, I'm thinking, I'm older, not as in good a shape, I shouldn't run. So finally, anyway, it hit me that last night I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I ran 2 miles today and it was fabulous. It's the running, it's the, like, that exercise, the endorphins I get from the running, but it's also that like time out. I cannot do anything else. I can't get angry with the husband. I can't do anything else. I can just focus on this one thing. And I'm not saying it fixes all problems, but I definitely, because I'm like you, Pat, I grew up in a very short-tempered home. I didn't say that you did, but I had my dad to thank for that. I grew up in a very abusive home. And all of us kids, all 4 of us have my dad's temper. So for me to be a loving wife to my incredibly, absolutely amazing, does not deserve a hot-tempered wife, husband, I have had to figure things out. Like, what do I need to do to put myself in check? Because just like you, I'm like, I don't want to sound like my father snapping at him every time.
Right.
Or at my kids, right? I don't want that for my kids either, because that's why we all walked on eggshells. So I'm not by any means a perfectionist at it, or like what do you want to say, professional at it. But I think it has kept me from being all the time.
Yeah. Well, and Amanda, congratulations. I mean, that is fabulous. And I love that you do that. I love that. And that investment, whatever it is, in running and massage, pays off long-term in the maintenance of your relationships, in your energy for your job, for your career. Because, Vegas has the phrase, I love it, says, scared money don't win. And scattered energy, angry energy doesn't win. If you're forcing yourself to pick up the phone, to be nice and talk to people, that energy ekes out in some way. Okay. Nobody may put their finger on it specifically, but it's there. And even if they don't get it, it's in you. So to know it and to take care of it, unbelievable. 100%, A plus, yay, yay. And that doesn't mean that it's always the second week of the month, you know? Something happens and it's the third week of the month, you know? It's,
June.
yeah,
So it's
June.
every month.
June. Well, you know, June. Yeah, for sure. We should talk about self-care and relationship at the end of June. That's absolutely right. Okay. Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you. And I did love Alaska, and it was warm. Wasn't 80, but it was 60, and they were going, we don't know what's happening. Okay, let's hear from some other people. Mackenzie, how do you take care of yourself? Self-care, Mackenzie.
I think this is a fun question because I'm actually in a group on Facebook with some of the ladies at my gym, and they were talking just this week about like non-scale victories. And, you know, I sat there and I was thinking about it, and it was exactly what you're saying is like June and Mary Kay is known for life falls apart while I knock out my goal. And then now I'm going to spend all of July getting my life back together, which is why a lot of times July sucks. And I mean, it's just kind of a thing in Mary Kay. And this year I was like, I just don't want that. Like I have done that, and I've had the big victories in June. I've had the super lame Junes, and July always sucked. Like I was so tired of it. And so at the beginning of June, my gym, which is like crazy person gym, I don't know why I joined it. It's great. I love it, but I didn't realize it was so crazy. And at the beginning, they're like, we're gonna do a June shred challenge. And so like June shred, like shred your body. Shred.
Oh, shred.
Like shred. Yeah. So I was like, well, June is not ideal. Like if they could do this in July, I feel like I would have more time, was my first thought. And then I could just kind of feel the Holy Spirit, like maybe that's exactly what you need to keep your life in order in June. Because when you have more on your plate, you have to be a master delegator and time manager to live both and instead of either or. And so that thought hit me, and I was like, well, Pat told me to do both. Pat told me both and. So I'm going to do that, not knowing that it was the workouts plus completely uprooting all of my nutrition, learning how to cook a certain way. I mean, it was everything. Like I have made probably 10 meals for my husband in the decade that I've known him, and we couldn't go out to eat anymore. I had to eat a certain way. So I've had to do all the cooking all month long. That was a shock to my system.
Yeah.
But, and it was just like such a learning curve.
Yeah.
It was completely the tracking everything. And I was like, well, whatever, we'll figure it out, because I can't let go of Mary Kay in June. I can't let go of my house falling. Like I can't let go of all of these things. So we're going to have to figure it out. And so I've become way better at compartmentalization for sure. So like Amy's talking about the clumps of the day, writing down your agenda the night before. I have shifted from, I was working out at noon thinking I need a break halfway through the day to go clear my mind and do something, to my mornings were not existent when I was working out at noon. So now, because Amy's my senior and she is very influential apparently, for like 5 years now, she has gotten up at 5 and worked out at 6 a.m. and her morning was all of that. And then she worked, and I was like, maybe no. Like, good for you. High five. And now I've fallen in love with which class at my gym, the 6 a.m. one. So I'm up at 5. I work out at 6, but I go without my kids because they're still sleeping. My husband is still sleeping. So I leave at 5. I get home around 8, and I just take my time. So I have 3 hours just in the car driving because I live in the boonies. And so that's my prayer time and my worship time and all of that. And so by the time I get home at 8 and everybody's waking up, like I've lived a whole day and I'm feeling great. And I'm like, you want breakfast? Do you want, I mean, like, I'm all over it, and it's helped so much. But I also gave myself permission on the days where it's harder, I can take a nap. If I
Yeah,
want to
sure.
lay down and take a nap, it's okay. I have enough time to nap for just a little bit and then get back up. So I think it's just regulating what is sufficient for the day. Cause I used to feel like enough was never enough. There was never enough. And now I'm letting go of exactly what I have to offer. Whatever God is leading me to do is enough for today. And
Good.
so I'm
Good.
peaceful. I'm a happy camper. That I've had minor moments, but I've snapped back way faster, which is really
Oh, well, you know, what I'm struck with, Mackenzie, is the cascade of great energy out of you.
oh,
You know,
thanks.
yeah, I mean, I'm struck with that. Not that you ever had bad energy, you never did, but I'm just saying, wow, you know, wow.
That's
So
great.
I think it's working. I think it's
Good.
working, and you know it's working because in your body you feel it, um, and the point is, you got to find your rhythm,
Right.
not Amy's rhythm, not my rhythm, not anybody else's. We can suggest and we can support, but the rhythm has got to be yours, you
Yeah.
know? And it sounds like you found it, you know, so
Finding
congratulations.
it. It's progress. Finding it.
Progress.
I just honestly want to be as muscular as Amy. Like, is that weird? Like, I ask her all the time, like, how much can you curl? And like, that's my goal. It's so, she's a ripper. Like, she is strong.
Whoa. All
Yeah.
right.
Flex for me. No, I'm just kidding. You can. It's impressive.
I love it.
We got a girl crush here.
Didn't know that.
Pretty good.
Okay, well, speaking of whom, Amy, how about you? Tell us about you and self-care.
And self-care. Okay, so when I melt down, I figured out that I melt down so hard, so fast. It's like a rocket, just completely in flames. And I would not be able to figure out what I needed for self-care. I mean, I was in the midst of it and couldn't figure it out. So I learned that if I just stop for a minute and follow the HALT, which is, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or am I tired?
Yeah.
And if I can figure out which of those I am, then I can target my self-care and it helps. Otherwise, I was having a tendency to not go in the direction that I needed the self-care in. I wasn't defaulting to the correct thing because I couldn't even get to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. No, it does. And when you don't have in your back pocket a strategy for when things go wrong, then when things go wrong, and they do all the time, it becomes cataclysmic. I may have told you all this before, but let me tell you again. I have a good friend, 50-year friend, who was the MD to the astronauts at NASA. Okay, so he worked with them, and these guys are the best of the best, right? They're healthy as you can be. They eat perfectly. They exercise. They've got big brains to handle the NASA, being an astronaut agenda. And he was telling me that, they stress them and then they adapt. They stress and then they adapt. And that's what we all do. There's a stress and we adapt. There's another stress and we adapt. But at some point in time, there is a stress and we don't adapt. And the decline is precipitous. It's like you're going downhill skiing and you're not in control. It is a precipitous decline. And I just thought that made so much sense and helped me understand why I was unable, or people were unable to recover at that time. So
I have another question for you that was from a couple weeks ago that has been rolling through my mind. So I know I need to ask it so that you can clarify it for me. You made the statement of being receptive means asking. So can you unpack? I mean, obviously it must be so foreign to me. I can't even Being receptive means asking. That feels like it's backwards. So, and this also brings up the fact that I am a terrible asker. I'm not great at asking. I mean, we had a big Cadillac party and it took everything in me to ask people and invite them to come to the party, which I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know. I think because I was raised with a constant thought pattern of don't impose on people, don't expect people to go out of their way for you, just do it yourself.
right. Well, that's a good rescuer position, you know?
Yes.
Remember the rescue triangle?
Yes,
know?
because that's, yes, yes. I got an A+ in rescuing.
Well, we need to get you to be an RR, reformed rescuer, you know?
Yes.
You know, the rescue position is don't ask, don't set boundaries, don't say no, and overgive without people asking you, you know, go into fix. So being receptive and asking, I'm just trying to remember in what context I said that.
You were talking about the adaptive child, which I don't understand that either. You were talking about we have to learn to ask for what we need.
Yeah.
And then you said, you know, part of being receptive, it means asking. And I was like, what? And then it was time to get off. And I was like, 2 weeks before I can ask her about this. So I put my asking off for 2 weeks.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, okay. Receptivity has to do with your ability to take in. Okay. You can't receive, you know, you can't receive love if you don't take it in. You may give it and you may be a giver, and certainly you are. But the circle of love means that you're receptive. Okay. That you receive. There's a giving and there's a receiving. And I think I might have been talking about that in the balancing of being a giver and not a rescuer. Okay. But you can't receive if you're always giving. So you've got to ask, you've got to stop giving, and you know you're drained, and ask for someone to be there for you. Then as you ask, you receive it. You call a friend, you go get a hug from your husband, you love up on your child, something that is contactful and present and sharing with someone. It doesn't have to be present in the sense of they're sitting there, but present in the sense that I hear you, I'm with you, I get it, you're in pain, and I'm so sorry. And then you take that in. And us givers, us fixers, us strong, we're doing our strong woman number, you know, and that number has nothing to do with receiving. It has everything to do with putting our energy out there for some cause, for the career, for our children, for somebody else. Is that more clear?
Yeah, that does make sense. The thing that hit me is when you said, so the boundaries, I have strong boundaries and I can say no really easy. My Achilles heel is not asking, and I overgive and have no expectation of any reciprocity.
Okay.
And that's not good.
No.
Because eventually I run out of fuel because I'm not asking or expecting any. That's why I love you so much. Because you're unconditionally giving to us, and there's not a Mary Kay agenda, which sounds awful, but it's refreshing to not have a Mary Kay agenda where the back thought is, how is this benefiting her again?
Yeah.
Is this really what's good for me? Because that does run through my mind. It's awful, but it does. I always have a secondary thought of, whoa. I heard what you said, but let me think through this because I need to make sure it's good for me. and that there isn't an agenda behind this that is
Right.
benefiting you.
Yeah.
And I don't have that with you because you're just here with us, helping us work through, which is why I love this so much.
Oh,
And
thank-
all of these women on here.
right, right.
I
Well,
have a-
yeah.
I have a question, Pat. For Amy.
Just
Oh, go
hold
ahead.
that for a second, Joy. I want to finish with Amy here for 1 sec. Okay, let me come back here. Well, thank you first, Amy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it is unconditional. You know, I think you guys are great. So in the here's what happens with us strong women. Okay. The asking feels vulnerable.
Well,
And-
crap. Pat. Well, crap. Oh my God.
Well, thank you for your honest response. Oh, crap.
Wow.
Yeah. So the reason we don't ask, okay, is twofold. Number one, we want to fix somebody. Our agenda is outside of us to fix, make happen, control, you know, create. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's where it is. But in self-care, the agenda has to be inside. What do I need? What is good for me at this moment? And for most of us, there's some residual guilt about feeling like we have the right to ask and the right to say to somebody, this is not good for me, so I need to do something different. And in doing that, we put ourselves on the line. We are then vulnerable. What if they say, well, I don't care. We're going to do it anyway. You know, I don't care that you need it. Well, now something's happened. So there's this dislike of vulnerability, this wanting to keep ourselves in control, sweetly, nicely, but still control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel protected. If I'm
Yes.
not vulnerable, you can't hurt me.
Right. And A, that's not true. I can hurt you, whether
Yep.
you're vulnerable or not. And B, we don't get the love that we really want to heal us from all the stress if we're not vulnerable. You know?
Well.
That was a nice version of oh crap.
I'm trying to get nicer. I felt stressed when you said vulnerable,
I love
and I defaulted to. I
I
could have said
love-
something worse.
I love
I upgraded it at least.
it was the most honest response I've ever had in 30 years of talking to people. Oh, crap. And you know, and what that means, and if other people on this call are feeling that, like, oh crap, what that means is that's one of the trigger points. Okay. You know, it's like if you went down your body and or your arm and you punched here and punched here, and you punch here and you go, oh God. Well, that's the pain. That's the place. So you know where you need to work.
So good.
And the irony is you were never more intimate or real than when you ask and when you're vulnerable. And to find someone you can ask and be vulnerable with and predict pretty much that they're going to be there and love you is huge. That's your safe person.
So good.
So Pat, to clarify, you said the reason it feels vulnerable is because one, we want to fix somebody. The agenda's outside of ourselves. And was the second one guilt, or what was the second one?
There's some residual, well, and it's hard to ask. It's just hard to ask because we become vulnerable. And the reason we don't ask, or part of the reason, is there's some residual guilt in most of us that we don't deserve it. We don't deserve someone to stop, love us, listen to us, be there for us. And so we put on our strong woman number, our strong woman act, and we hold that in. And so it's not seen. And one of the great responses I've ever had, or learnings I've ever had, is that you don't forget the people you've cried with. You can forget the people you laughed with, but you don't forget the people you cried with. Why? Because you've let down and they've been there for you. And you must have felt a lot of that, Chris, in this recent crisis. The people who've been there for you have forged a bond with you that you won't forget. So I want to go back to Joy because she had a question. Joy, haven't forgotten you.
No, it was to Amy. Why is it wrong for there to be something in it for someone else?
Why is
You
it
had
wrong?
mentioned, you had mentioned that because there would be something like what's in it for someone else, and I just wondered what that was about. Do you remember saying
At
that?
Mary Kay tailored events, when they're giving you advice and you're like, but why are you telling me that? Because it's all in Mary Kay and Pat's outside of Mary Kay.
Right.
Or are you asking why I feel like I couldn't ask people to do something for me if there is a benefit for them?
Right. Like what's in it for them? Like what's in it for you? You know what I mean? Like, is that why you didn't feel vulnerable enough to ask them to come because you thought, and it's a lingering thought for all of us. Like we are in cars, they don't drive my car, and so why would they want to come to my party? And is that still like a leftover from that?
No, so I know exactly what it is, but I couldn't have gotten to it without what Pat said. It's not my deserve level. I don't struggle with that. It is, I have a lot of pain, apparently, still housed in here that I need to work through with a previous marriage. When I asked, I was taken down to the ground on every, like I can't think of even one occasion that I was given what I asked for. So he taught me that it was not okay to ask, only give. And it was not okay to need anything from him because everything was to go to him. And I think that has been, it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But I think that last piece of what that relationship, how it was put together is still there because he taught me that lesson daily. If I even said, can you go to the store and get, are you going to the store? And he'd say, yes, I'm going to get this, this, and this. And I'd say, can you bring me home some milk and some eggs because I need them for breakfast? He would get everything except the milk and eggs.
Wow.
Every time.
And was that just passive aggressive? Like you can't tell me what to do?
It was, he always said that he forgot, but he was a narcissist and a undiagnosed schizophrenic that then I found out after I divorced him, he went to get help and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I was in a no-win battle.
Yeah, you were. Okay. So here, homework for you, Amy, or for anybody who has some of that issue. I want you to write him a letter that you don't send. And everybody who knows me knows I'm big on letters. And in that letter, I want you to tell him first how it hurt you, how much it hurt you that you asked and he paid no attention, that he gave you no acknowledgement. Okay, I want you to do hurt. I want you to do anger, how pissed off you were and are at him for being a narcissist, for, treating you inappropriately. And then so hurt, sadness and hurt, anger. And then at the end, I want you to tell him the last paragraph and take as much time with this as you need. Okay. tell them off, you know, oh crap, I married you, you know, or worse, whatever you want to say. This letter's going nowhere but for you. And at the end, it's important to say, I choose to let go of these feelings. I choose to forgive you and to forgive myself and to be done. I will no longer fear asking or being vulnerable. That's your Declaration of Independence. That's your burial, if you will, of the negativity that he left you with.
Okay.
And at the end of the letter, you should feel release. You know, like, whoa, yes. You know, it may not be, it'll be whatever it is. Okay. And so share it with us next week.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Isn't it amazing now you're married to a husband that would go to every store in the county to get every egg and every gallon of milk for you?
It is helpful.
I'm so glad that you put that homework out there. As you were talking about it, this was something that years ago I had therapy to try to get past some of my daddy issues. And because my dad is not somebody, Maria, I commend you for being able to have a conversation with your father. I did once. It didn't go as well as yours did. And because I couldn't have that conversation, I was given this homework assignment, and I literally, as you were talking through it, I was reliving that experience of writing that letter and what each paragraph, like the release of each paragraph, being able to release the sadness, release the anger, release the vulnerability, and release and forgive. That was the big thing for me, was at the end, I could just say, you know, it wasn't okay, it happened, but I forgive and I'm done and I can move on. And that was so big for me to be able to finally, find my husband, find the right kind of relationship, and have different connection to people, because I would not connect to people because of him, because I was vulnerable. I didn't want to get hurt again. And so that's like this whole thing. I was just like, oh, this is a good one, like for all of us, even for me to relive it and do it again, you know? So anyway, thanks for putting that homework.
It's an ongoing process, you know, because it is, because we all took an 18-year to 20-year course in how to be a person from the people we grew up with, you know, and those people, whether they're dead or alive, live in us. And we, every now and then, we dip into that experience and project it onto the present. And usually that doesn't work very well, to be simplistic about it. So what we have to do, there's a phrase in psychology. It says all psychotherapy is grief work. And I think there's some real truth in that if we think about it, because we're grieving the love we didn't get, we didn't think we got. We're grieving the past experience of hurt. And we may be indeed grieving that we've done it again. Somehow or other, we have blocked ourselves from having all the joy and love we need because of this past crap, you know, this luggage that we have, baggage that we've thrown on to the present. So, but we're empowered to get rid of it now.
Pat, something that was told to me years ago that that just kind of has stuck and has helped me be able to ask, and that is that if I take myself out of it, what's in it for them? And so in making a mental list or writing down everything that is in it for them and why they would be a better person, happier, you know, it'd be good for me to ask what's in it for them. And then that allowed me to be able to take, you know, like do it, ask them, and really not care where the answer lands because it's not about me anyways. And that has helped me. Also, not asking it, keeping them from a blessing.
Exactly. I love that, Joy. It's, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, I'll just use a personal example, and because it's minor, but well, it wasn't kind of minor. But anyway, the other night, our RV breaks down. It's 95 degrees. It's hot. We have no hotel room. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just going, ugh. And, I had to, at that moment, turn to my husband and ask him, I said, honey, what can we do? Can you fix this? I'm just miserable. And he said, well, I can't fix that we don't have a hotel and there's no hotels and it is hot, but I can be there for you. And so, I mean, he just hugged me, and I'm crying because I'm halt, I'm hungry, I'm angry, I'm tired, wasn't lonely, but it was just like, I've had it, that 2-year-old, that wants to have a fit. And just the being able to be with him in the moment and have him be with me, calm me down enough to sleep, and to find a hotel the next day and get in the air conditioning. So it can be minor things like that. That is not a major personality problem, but it's an environmental problem that throws you off. I'd adapted, and I got to the place where I just precipitously fell apart. So we all do it. I don't care who you are, how much training you have. Happens. Just got to find good people to be with, But I love that you can ask and think of the benefits for them. The benefit for my husband in that moment is he got me to hug him and kiss him and appreciate him, being sweet about it, I mean, I'm being grumpy, which I'm usually not, and I'm stomping around and being mad at the world, and he's being sweet. Well, that kind of melted me, helped. Okay. All right. Who have I not? Naomi, haven't heard from you, my dear, or Beth. Want to hear?
Hey,
Beth's
hey.
going, what group did I get in? Oh my God. No.
Our conversation has been making me think of there's a podcast by Craig Groeschel. He's a famous pastor and has a podcast and stuff, but he almost always ends his podcast with, people don't follow a leader who's always right, they follow a leader who's always real. And I'm like, oh yeah, at the point of being vulnerable, and like, I don't know, and I don't have it figured out or whatever, is
Right.
sometimes inspiring to people. So in terms of self-care, I have found that I have 3 kiddos and I need breaks from them. I have to get away from them. Right now I'm in my basement. There's a sitter upstairs. I don't know. It just recharges me so much to just be alone for a little bit, not all day, but just alone and to feel like I get things done. And then I have a saying that you can't have a bad day when you listen to 80s rock or Christmas music. So literally, literally, this is kind of funny, but when my daughter had leukemia, I would be it'd be like July, and I'd be in her hospital room, and this wasn't terribly long ago, like 5 years ago, but it was still before we had access to all the music apps we have today. And I would be like on YouTube playing Christmas songs, blaring in like our hospital room in July, because it made me happy. Like, I didn't care if people thought I was crazy. And so I still do
love
that.
I love
and
that.
My kids love the Eagles and all the great, like, I feel like I'm like raising them right because they know the 80s music, like so there's hope for the next generation. My kids know the 80s music, but that just, it puts me in a good mood. And then honestly, being in this group is so almost like cathartic. Like, it just, my tendency is always to be like, oh, well, if I'm not, doing something that has made me get a new recruit or sell another 10 grand or whatever, is it really worth my time? And our group is not, that's not the focus, but this is so good for me just to be in a safe place to even just listen in. I mean, sometimes I just love just listening and hearing what everyone else has to say. And it's very, almost like peaceful for me, like tranquil, just feeling like, okay, I'm not the only one who's messed up. Yay. I'm joking. but
Well,
it does feel good.
everybody's messed up, you know?
Yes.
There's nobody out there who's perfect. Nobody. And
Yeah.
and the one of the things that I think, and if I could speak to it as an outsider, one of the things, because I've been to like, I don't know, 200 Mary Kay, more than that, 400 Mary Kay events. And I hear people get up there and tell their story. Okay. And the stories that really ring true, and why I think this group is helpful to go out and get new recruits, is that the stories that ring true are the stories that are authentic. The stories that leave out the part where I struggled, I didn't believe I could do it, I was in pain, I had this happen and that happen. And the stories that are, I got in, I did everything, I went to Cadillac, I went on the trip, and now I'm the biggest, most well-paid national out there, or whatever it is. Leave out the part that is real. And this is real. We're talking about real things. And I believe that it's going to make you a better Mary Kay leader, because you're going to be real. Now, we can talk about that and see if that's true. And even if it isn't true, it's going to make you a better person. That I know. Because if we can be vulnerable, which is what we're doing with each other in a safe environment, then we can translate that to other people and other places. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. But leaders are the ones who not only have the quote answers from the book, whatever, product people need to know. They have some of the answers to the process. And those answers to the process are always dealing with feelings. Always. It's not the new skincare, it's that somebody said no and it made you feel bad and you don't want to go back out there. And you don't want to ask because it hurts. Got it. Yes, it does. Now we're going to process it. Okay. Get through it. Then you're going to be stronger and you're going to go back and it might hurt again, but you're going to survive, That's life. It's life. It's not just Mary Kay. It's life. But yeah. So vulnerability and the ability to handle being vulnerable in a way that it has self-care at the center, rather than as oh well, I guess I have to do something because I'm on the floor crying. Has self-care at the center of our experience is so much better than waiting until we feel stomped on and we can't even think of something to do. So congratulations to you that you have a sitter, that you've taken a break, and that you can be with us in a real way. And if you hadn't, and your cute little kids were running in and out, you're not present, just not.
Yeah.
Can't be.
Yeah. And I always come back a better mom, like it's
Yeah.
like I actually like them when I return, instead of like, get away from me, you people.
And that translates to them,
Oh,
So-
they know. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And you're better prepared to get a new recruit. You're just better because you've taken care of yourself, and everyone on this call is better because you've been on it and you've been talking about it, at the heart of the group is the individual. And why I love groups so much, and I do love group, is that everybody's story is part of everybody's story. Everyone who says something on here and shares is touching a part of everybody else. Okay, Beth, let's go to you. Have we completely, what are we doing? Have I gone over time? Looks like I have. I don't know what time it is. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care. Beth,
Yeah.
tell me about you. How's this gone for you?
I will tell you that probably the best decision that I've made. Thank you so much, Naomi. I have pages, notes, side notes. See the side? There were a couple of things that were aha moments. The first one was the being receptive means asking. I said, oh crap, too. I was like, what is this? Okay, so and then all psychotherapy is grief work.
Yeah.
So just joining this group, I know that I've made a fantastic decision. I look forward to getting to know everybody. And although vulnerability for me is a practice that I've taken on, I learned that like a year ago. I was like, oh, you got to be vulnerable. Yeah. But I think this will be extremely helpful in that progress and that journey. And self-care, I hike, backpack, and mountain bike.
You what?
I hike, I backpack, and I mountain bike, and get massages when I'm sore and soak in my hot tub also.
Sounds wonderful. Beth,
So there you go.
Thank you for coming and thank you for being with us. Anybody want to say anything to Beth?
We're just glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
I love your name.
Thanks, Joy.
Are you on Voxer?
I am.
Okay, because we have a Voxer group sometimes.
Oh, perfect. I was going to ask how you guys communicate outside the group. So
All kinds of ways.
I love that she says sometimes. We have a Voxer group sometimes.
sometimes.
Well, like sometimes we put stuff in there, sometimes we don't.
I
That's
just
awesome.
added Beth. Yeah,
Oh,
it's so funny because I didn't know. I kept wanting to suggest we create a Voxer group, and then when somebody said like, "Oh, I'll put it in the Voxer group," I was like, "Oh, like I didn't know I wasn't in it or to ask to be in it," and so then I was like, "Oh, now I know."
Now we're all here. It's good.
You're in it. You were in it. I wanted to respond to Joy's comment. I know we're going over a little bit, but I don't care if you guys are up for it. Joy, I think that there is an inherent issue in Mary Kay, and that is that if I'm trying to find that, trying to find the words. If I am helping you, is it only because I will get something from it? Or is this a genuine interest in you and wanting to help? And I think that's where, Amy, if I'm saying this right, you tell me. I think that's where the question is, right, Amy? About
It is that, and not wanting to be vulnerable with people that I think there could be another agenda, which is why it's easy to be vulnerable with you.
Right, exactly. And it's okay to have another agenda. It's because Mary Kay is created on that. It's created that I help you, you help someone else, and we all benefit. Now, I think that there's an antenna that you're speaking to, Amy, and that is this person genuine in their wanting to help me? Or is it only because, they're going to get something? And that's a hard call, because they are going to get something if you're upline, and they may or may not be genuine. I don't know. But you will know over time, because if they're not genuine, you're going to feel it. So there is a protection in there, in the sense that if I feel that that person is only doing it to manipulate me, so that they can get something more. I may or may not choose to be involved in that. It's a tough one because the structure is set up that way.
It is.
And it's
It's-
set up that way for a reason, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and after what you've been through, Amy, you probably are like, that's a landmine. I'm not stepping on that one.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, yeah. And understandably. Okay. So
Thank
So
you.
you make that decision and you're smart and you'll know. But if they're doing it and they're making money from it and it's all fun and good spirited, why not? You know? Why not?
Right.
Doesn't hurt anybody. But you may not want to make them your best friend. You may want to
Right.
have people, and I do think everyone should have people outside of Mary Kay that they go to. I mean, not necessarily, I'm in this and me in this. I mean, it could be a pastor, it could be, you know, your best friend from high school, whatever. But I do think you need somebody not in the loop. I think that's smart
Yeah.
because, you know, just good. Okay, the issue this week is self-care, everybody. How do I do it? When do I do it? Do I do it? And does it work? You know, does it work?
Speaking of self-care, I'm flying to Phoenix in a few minutes. I'm getting ready to leave. And I'm going to see my best friend from high school, Sharon. And her church is having some ladies get together. And I get to share my testimony and also pamper 6 to 8 ladies. And we're staying in a resort.
Nice.
And I've scheduled myself a nice facial.
You look
Self-care.
lovely, Joy.
AKA self-care.
Oh, AKA. Listen, I wanted to ask you, you're in a Palm Desert, right?
I'm in La Quinta.
La Quinta, okay. And you're going to a stretching kind of yoga class?
Yeah, in Old Town, La Quinta. It's, yeah,
I'd like to know about that when I get back, you know.
sure.